Okay, so let's get ourselves up and running with some simple game mechanics. I have this open level, and I have my character. I'm just going to close these over. I'm going to have my character here, running around doing things. First thing I want to do is I just want to introduce a game start into this blank level. You're probably going to be working from a level that you've set up with some environment and some architecture and stuff like that. But for the sake of just keeping things clean and me being clear and not getting too overwhelming or confusing, I'm going to just do like bare minimum for each phase. And we're going to work with this like clean basic level. What I do want though is a player start. So I just took that from my place actors. I'm going to drop it over there. And so now we know that when we start the level, our character is wherever we want them to begin from. So I'm going to show you my, essentially what we're going to do is we're going to build a dynamic where every few seconds the character's health degrades, and if they don't collect a power object that you determine, they're going to die within a certain amount of time. So every time they take the power object, it's going to push up their health, and then the time will degrade them slowly. Okay, so let's just take a look at how we set that up. I'm going to go and start by, first of all, determining where my character exists. So we're using our template, our Unreal Engine template, and you can see here that when I press play, the character appears. Now, the character is not anywhere to be found in my outliner, but as soon as I press play, you can see they pop up here on the right. So I can hit the eject button. It's F8 if you have F keys on your keyboard. The eject button, and here if I press the eject button, the game is still running, you see, but I can actually select things that only are spawned or populated once the game begins. So what we're going to do is we're going to add some details to this character. So I'm going to hit stop so that we're out of the game. We're going to, actually no, I'll show you what. Press play, eject, click on this. You can see that BP third person character has been spawned. And this is a preset character blueprint that exists as a result of the starter content that Unreal gives us. But if I right click here and say browse to asset, it pops up here and we can see that it's inside of third person blueprints. So I'm going to dock this content drawer in my layout, because I prefer to be able to see it down here than to have it kind of float up over my stuff. I actually just want it like that. I like this layout best. And I'm going to press stop so that we are not playing the game. And I'm going to go back to where that was, third person blueprint. And there it is, my third person blueprint character. So a blueprint is essentially, blueprints are Unreal Engine's nodal visual coding system. So look at what happened when I open this up. I get this whole interface of essentially the back end of what's happening when I use my character. And so everything around a character is stored inside of their blueprint class, which is this file here. This is an external file. It's saved as a file in and of its own right in my folder structure. And so when we update it or anything, we have to save it so that then it functions inside our game. I'm going to I realized save my level because I hadn't done that yet. I'm going to go into content, I'm going to make a new folder, I'm going to call it levels. And I'm going to call this level 1. So popping back over to my third person blueprint, let's take a look at what's inside here under the hood. We have all of these nodes and all of these cables connecting them. Don't worry too much if this is overwhelming at first. It'll begin to make sense as we work in this space. But for the time being, let's just look at the fact that first and foremost, we have input mapping. You can see event begin play. So something happens at the beginning of the game. We also have jumping inputs. moving inputs. These are our right, left controls, all these kind of things. We're going to come back to this when we build our own character. But just notice that they're all different colors. They're like red, green, blue, whatever. And those are because these nodes are otherwise known as variables. But there are particular types of variable. There's like a limited number of variables. And all of our coding system is combinations of these variables. So you see on my left-hand side, I have a variable area, and I can hit plus, and I can add an example. And when I click that, you see it brings over the details on the right-hand side. And when it says variable type, you can see that there's a bunch of different options for what type of variable this is. So we have Boolean, which is true or false. That relates, you can remember, to the bool tool where we subtracted something from our model earlier. True or false, positive, negative, subtract or addition. We have the byte, that's an 8-bit number, so a number that has up to 8 integers, or decimal places. An integer number, an integer 64, that's for like a dot, something really long number. A float, that's a float point number. A name, this is like could be a word. A string, this can be any sentence for any reason, whatever kind of like text that we need. A localizable text string, we might get onto that at some point. 3D vector position, a rotation, or a transformation like a scale or position, also rotation. So for now, I'm going to just remove that little example variable. And what we want to add to this character is their ability to essentially lose their health over time. So let's look at how we do that. So to add this health attribute, I'm going to create a new variable, and I'm going to call it health. And I'm going to make it into a float. That's just like a straight up number. And I'm going to hit compile. I'm going to turn it on. And you can see that over here on the right, it says default value. And I'm going to set that to 100, say. And then I'm going to press compile again. And I'm going to, I want to essentially have time decrease my health value. So I'm going to make a node called event tick. Event tick. An event tick is a very basic node. There's a few kind of basic start off nodes. We saw one up here, which was event begin play. And begin play is just like what happens at the beginning. An event tick is continually checking on every refresh, every essentially frame of the animation of the game, and sending a signal to check like if there is anything that needs to be updated. So what I want to do is add a delay here. So I'm going to just put in delay, and I'm going to click that, and here if I connect event tick to delay, this essentially is going to wait or create a delay of a certain duration. This is in seconds. And I'm just going to I'm going to make it like 2 seconds. And then what I want is to have it update the health with a minus number every 2 seconds. So if I just take the health in there, I can just say get health. I just drag it in from the side, and I have 2 options. Let's just do that again so you can see. I drag in health from the side, and it shows me a little menu. I can get health or set health. So I'm going to get health, and I'm going to drag a pin out from here. All I have to do is search for, I'm going to subtract from it. So I'm going to hit minus, and here we have subtract. And what's happening here is we've got a number that's going to be subtracted from the current number, which is health, right? And so I'm going to subtract every 2 seconds. I'm going to subtract 10. So that's going to be right now like 10 seconds until the character, or 20 seconds until the character dies. No, yes. God, maths, not good. But you get it. And then I want that, so I want this to be setting the health So I'm going to drag this in again, and this time I'm going to go set health, and I'm going to drag this pin to the health number, and then I'm going to make sure that these nodes are connected. So what I've got going on here is, okay, the event tick is refreshing and checking the game every basically frame. And then this is giving us a little pause of 2 seconds before it updates. And then this is triggering this little system, which is making it reset the health minus 10. This number is health minus 10. So this is going 2 seconds, ping, 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 subtracting 10 on every go. So let's just make sure we know that this is working. So I'm going to create a string in here, print string. And what that does is it just gives us a little readout of our details. So I'm going to unhook this and do that, and collect that, and then I'm going to make sure that this is connected to health. Oh, my bad. Let's just bring it in like this. So I'm going to drag this in. I'm going to get health, so this is the number, and let's have it print. So you can see essentially, okay, so what's going on here? Print string is essentially giving us a readout of whatever is in here, in this box here. And so we have our health number, which is a number that is set, and it's just a float right now. It's not a readable piece of text, not a string, otherwise known as. But this little thing is automatically generated, and this is a converter. So, okay, let's go through the whole node system again. Event tick, checking. Print string is going to print whatever the health currently is. The print is going to be taken from getting the health over here. So this is the readout. And then we have a delay where 2 seconds, this is going to reset the health with minus 10. So let's just take a look. Let's compile that, save it. Let's go over to our level. Let's press play. And you can see that we have 100, 90, 80, 70, 60, and it goes all the way down to 0. So we have our node is functioning, and when we want to label our nodes, we just can select them all and press C, and then we'll just call this health tick. Okay, so we want to make our game a little bit more beautiful than having a ugly string of numbers just sliding down the left-hand side like that. So let's give ourselves a nice health bar over here. And we're going to do that by adding our first example of user interface design. So I'm going to create a new folder, and I'm going to call that UI, press return. I'm going to open that up, and then in there, I'm going to go to right click and say user interface, and then I'm going to create a widget blueprint. And so the widget blueprints are kind of interactive user interface elements. So I click user widget, and I'm going to call that, by default we call our we just call it UI, and then we're going to call it health. Press return. I'm going to open that up, and here we have a new blank blueprint area for creating user interface controls. So this is not intuitive, and it tripped me up a few times at first. The first thing we need is a canvas to work on. And so in other versions of Unreal Engine, the canvas was automatically placed there, and you might already have a canvas on your screen. And if so, it'll show up as a little kind of detail under there that says canvas panel under here. Now I don't have that, so I'm just going to type in my selection here. I'm going to search for canvas panel, and you can see I can just drag that into my area, and automatically it sets it up like that in this green area. So this is my screen essentially when I'm playing the game, and you can see it's populated here too. So I'll close that so that there's no search filters on. And I'm going to add in the common, I'm going to add a progress bar. So I'm going to drag that over there. I'm going to kind of like put it on the side. And this is, you know, old familiar progress bar that's going to go from one color and slide down into another. Now I'm going to anchor that over on the left-hand side in this option anchors. I'm just going to use this one on the top left and just dock it. And what that does is essentially if you're using a different kind of screen, or, you know, whatever, you change your resolution of your window on your desktop, that sticks in the same place. So that's important. Okay, and then we're going to style this. So we have it at, let's take a look at our settings here. We have it at the size X is 594. I think I'm just going to set it to 500 so it's not super big. And then I'm going to go down, and you can look over here, and we've got some style options. So we got style, going to open style, and here if we open background image and fill image, we get essentially to color our health. So health generally we often think of as green or blue, something kind of nice. I like this kind of teal. I'm going to go in between, get some nice teal in there. And then for the background, I'm going to set that, say okay. For the background, I could put an image. You can style this however you like. And I'm going to tint it. Let's just make it black for the time being. This is where you get to actually do something like very much of your own feeling. So let's bring it up to 100. You can see that kind of blue bar. Now this is how it'll start at 100 and it'll slowly go down to 0. I'm going to bring that up to 1 so it's totally filled by default. And then I'm going to just do this thing here, which is if I click bind, I can create binding. And so what that's going to do is it's going to bind that user interface to my health object that I created earlier. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to get this to set our health. And what we're going to start is what we're going to start doing is we're going to start by getting the character that we're currently using. So we're going to get player character. Get player character, and then we are going to make sure that we are connecting it to our BP third person character, which is the one that we are using by default, and then we are going to make sure that that is connected up here. So let's remove that and connect these together. And then we are going to get our health. Get health. So that's our health node. See that this area of this blueprint in this particular UI that we've created, this is now calling up elements that we've created over here. So once we've created a variable like this, it's accessible in other blueprint areas like here, like this. Okay, so we're going to continue the string. Cast to BP third person is going to go to the return node so that it changes. We want to change that return value. And so what we've got going on here now is we've got our player being called, and we are going to cast this object to our third person character, and then the third person character, we're going to get the health out of that blueprint that we've summoned here, and then we're going to return it back to the return node so that it appears as a percentage on our user interface. But we're actually missing a section here, which is that we want to break this apart into percent. So I'm going to just drag that out and go divide, operations divide. So we have like a percentage thingy. and then we're going to divide it by 100. Oops. And then we're going to replace this node with this one. Okay. So we have the health divided by 100, and then hopefully this binding will have worked. Okay, so right now we have our UI, we have our UI working nice and healthy over here. Where's the graph gone? Designer, there we go. We have our bar here, and we want to, it's functioning, it exists, it's updating with the health, but it's not actually popping up on our screen yet. So we want to do that. We want to make sure when the game begins, that UI shows up in front of everything else. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into our third person controller, and we're going to go over to we're going to find this node at the top of the blueprint, event begin play, and we're going to drag another string out of there, another little cable out of there, and I'm going to just create we're going to call on the widget that we created. So we're going to just say create widget there, and drag it up, and we then, so now we have a thing being created, or a thing being created on the screen, and we're going to select the class, which is which one is it? And remember, we called it UI health, UI underscore health. There it is. And so now we're connecting it over to this UI health blueprint that we've created. And then we also want to make sure, so now we're at the beginning of the play, we are grabbing this UI health, and we also want to create a node that says put it on the screen. So we're going to say add to viewport. All right. So you can see automatically Unreal Engine is just making sure whatever is set up down here is going to not be disconnected. And these strings are just adding to an overall process that's happening here. So we have a value that is being created here, and we want to make sure it follows through. So we'll just connect these blue nodes here. And then let's see, compile, save. Let's take a look at our game. So I've got play now, and I think it is there. Yeah, there it is. It's nice and teal, and it's decreasing every 2 seconds. So I'm going to press escape. I'll go back to my blueprint, and we also want to delete that. Do you remember that print string that's showing the numbers? So let's just delete that. We can delete these guys too, and then we just connect that over. So now it should work. Let's just double check. It's all good. I think it's all good. It's all good. We have our blue bar in the top left, slowly decreasing. Okay, nice one. So this is all good. This is happy. I'm going to just close this now because we don't need to work on it for a while. Okay, so where are we? Here we have our health ticker. And we know that essentially what's going on is every 2 seconds we're losing 10%. But what happens when we get to 0? Right now, nothing. It'll just basically keep on subtracting. We'll get into minus figures and nothing will change. And so what we want to do is kill our character, for want of a better expression. And what we're going to do, the way we're going to do that is we're going to essentially make a switch, so that when the health number gets to 0, we're going to switch on death, I guess. So let's take our health over here, and we're just going to get the health. This is our health number node, remember? Default 100, but probably diminishing very quickly. And we're going to drag out a node here, and we're going to find the greater. So this basically means this gives us kind of an option. So if it's greater than 0, then we are alive. And if it goes below 0, we want to create a branch that switches between two options. So I'll go to branch, add a branch, and you can see that the condition is that the health is greater than 0. And if that's true, then we are going to connect the true to being alive and the false to being dead. So let's make a new variable that we're going to create basically the switch. And a switch, the on-off, if you remember the like either one or the other, is a Boolean. So I'm going to call this B and then ls, that's the convention for Booleans. I'm going to say player dead. And I'm going to change that to a Boolean. And then I'm going to drag this in here, and I'm going to go to set BS player dead, and I'm going to take the false, and I'm going to put that there. And let's just check when I select that. Please compile Blueprint. I'm going to compile so it exists, and you can see that by default it's not checked. So that means when we go below 0, the condition is false, and then we are going to basically turn this on. The BS player dead node is going to be turned on, and the player is then dead. Okay, so now when the player is dead, we want to essentially not be able to control them anymore. So let me pull this out, and I'm going to say disable character movement pending, what's it called? It's called pending destruction. Detach from controller pending destroy. That's the node that we want. And as you can see, it's a function, so it's something that's built into Unreal that they basically designed for this exact situation. So I'll compile, save, go to the level. I'm also, just notice I've just changed my health so that every 2 seconds it goes down 25%, because I want to check these, I want to test these, and I don't have patience to watch it just run down slowly. So I'm going to just press play, and you can see that we have this little sign in the way, F1, but it's going down. So run around, and then now I can no longer control it. I have no control anymore. Now, if this is stuck in the animation that it was left on, we will learn how to stop that. We're going to do a whole session on animation when we create our own characters, and that will be part of our class then. But for the meantime, just notice that we have essentially no control over it once we hit the 0 health. So what we want to do next is we want to display like a screen that says like you've lost or you win, go on to next level or replay level. In this case, when you die, of course, you lose. So we'll do that first. Okay, so I'm going to create the UI that appears when the character dies. So I'll go over to our level. We have our UI folder still open. I'm going to right click user interface, say widget blueprint, user widget. I'm going to rename this UI you lose, press return, open that up. We have our familiar widget interface here, and you remember that the first thing I want to do is create a canvas, and I'll drag that in onto you lose, and you've got now here your workspace. I'll X that so that I can see my options. First thing I want to do is create a kind of like background to it, so I'm going to drag this thing called image over. The image just gives us a kind of blank. You can drop an image in here if you want, but I'm just going to give it like a blank color, and this weird flower thing is here. So I'm going to just, there we go. Make sure that gets over to the corners. Pretty good. I'm going to change the color and opacity. I'm going to make it black because it's kind of a downer moment, and I'm going to put that at 0.5. Okay, I put the opacity at 0.5 because it'll sort of sit on top of the screen that we're looking at. And then I'm going to add some buttons. So I'm going to get this button right here. I'm going to stick this here. I'm going to make it a little bigger, like that. I'm going to give it a color. So background color, let's make it kind of red like that. Say OK. I'm going to copy and paste this. Control-C, Control-V. And I'll drop this on the other side. This is going to be our retry and quit options. And then I can drag and drop text into these blocks. So if I drag that in there, I can go up and say retry. And I will change my size to about 40. And I'm going to put some more text over here. I'm going to call that quit. And I'm going to change that to 40 also. And then I'm going to put some big, just friendly text in the center that says, you lose. And I'm going to make it about, I don't know, let's see, drag that up. Wow, there we go. Little exclamation mark. Just bring it home. And there you go. So this is going to then be the thing that appears, and you get to click these buttons. So if I click this button here, we can scroll down in all of our options. We have lots of options. We have lots of different things we can hover over if you want to create other kind of UI things. But I'm going to just put a plus on clicked, and then we can go ahead and bind it in the same way that we bound the other widget. So let's click that. Okay, cool. So that's got our on-click button. Let's just change the names of those so that we are able to be sure that we're not going to get confused. So I have this button selected, button 0, and I'm going to just change it to retry button. And then I'm going to change the quit to, guess, quit button. All right. So that means that then we can also, with the quit button, I'm going to say on clicked, give it a little binding to something. And then now we have our retry button and our quit button both lined up to bind to some external event. So on clicked for the retry button, we want to make a open level, and we want to make sure that it's whatever level that we are on. Now, you'll notice that we put the blueprint, the previous blueprint, into our character, and we're putting this, we're setting it up so that this screen can reappear however many levels we have. It's not bound to, like if you click retry on level 3, you're not going to jump back to level 1. So the way we do that is we go open level, which is a function, and by name, and then we can actually, like where we would populate the level name, we can actually say get current level. Oops. Get, let's see, level, what's it called? Get current level name, I think is what it's called. Get current, okay, let's see. Let's just right click here, say get current level name. There we go. Okay, so it's a function that doesn't automatically draw out of here, and I've just set it up. And so let's make sure we connect our values. And you see it's got a little converter here. Okay, so on clicked, we want to actually activate this. So this isn't going to by default run, where you have to basically stick this up here and join this here and join that there. So our node eventually is, when you click it, it'll get the level, it'll open the level by name. Okay, and then the other one, the quit button, just if we create a node which is just called quit, that's already made for us by Unreal. So bonk, and you're out of the game. Okay, so we want to compile this and save it, and then we could go into our level, But the problem is that this actually isn't set up to appear. So you remember we had the same thing happen a second ago with this, and we created this UI appearance for our health widget. So let's just grab these. We're going to just press Control C, copy them, or Command C if you're on the Mac, and then we'll actually attach them over here, like we'll make a new version, so that when we have the character die, it appears over here, the you lose UI, there it is. So that'll appear. Now, the important thing to note here is that we have a situation whereby the event tick is going to constantly refresh and send these like little electrical currents through this system. And so if you have the switch happen here on the branch and it's going check, 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 and it's running and it's constantly calling up this user interface screen that we created, you're basically reloading something over and over and over and over. And remember, the delay is here, so it'll be like however many frames per second. And that is just a really good recipe to crash a computer. So the way that we resolve that is we are going to just use a node and stick in there called, I think it's do once, let's see, do once, there we go. We click it, drag it in. What is our button for dropping? There's a button where you can just like insert it in there and it automatically joins up. I'll find that out for you. And let's just join it up manually. And there we go. So this should now give us a like a death screen. So let's compile and save. And I think that's good. Let's take a look. So let's press play and have our character die. Duke, you lose. Okay, so you can see that we have a very obvious problem. Well, two very obvious problems. First of all, the screen is like about 2/3 the size of our actual screen. And second of all, I don't have a mouse, so I can't click anything. So this is a real problem, and we're going to solve it right now. So let's open that up. And you'll note that essentially we have like an anchor system. And right now we want this image. We can just go down all of our different elements and position the anchor to where we want it to sit on the screen. And that means that everything will like kind of exist in relation to this flower, which is our anchor, and it will adapt depending on the size of the screen. So for our background, we really want it to just like spread over the whole screen no matter what. So I'm going to use this like big square that just covers everything. And then you see it uses these arrows and positions all the corner pins like that. You lose, we want that always to stay in the center. So I'm going to just drop that there. And we can actually, it's like a little bit off almost. We can just position it. So that flower is in the center of the screen, and then the text will always be in the center. The quit button, we can position that relative to the center we want to, if we want, or we can position it relative to the right-hand corner. I'm going to just go ahead and choose, this right-hand corner, I think. And then this one, I'm going to choose the left-hand corner. And that means that when we change the display, so if we go like iPhone or whatever, it all kind of remains relatively, in coordination with each other. So let's just compile that, save that, and check our project again. So I'll press play, and let's see, just run around a bit until we die. And we're out. Okay, so we have that working, but we still can't see our mouse. So let's go over to our blueprint. And let's do, first of all, get player controller. So that's a function here. And then I'm going to drag out a node from here that we're going to find. Essentially, we need to find the mouse. So let's see what happens if we just put in, or let's put in cursor and see what options it gives us. We have mouse interface. We have get show mouse cursor, and we're going to say set. So we want it to, essentially we want to turn it on. We want to turn on showing the mouse cursor. And we do that by grabbing the viewport, going there and stick it in there. And then we have, get the player controller, that's like our mouse, and it's going to show it, it's going to switch it on. And I think that should just do it. And we want to make sure that it's switched on. Okay, so let's compile this, save it, and then take a look at how it goes. So I'm going to press play. Our health is going down, and doink, you lose. Okay, cool, and there's my mouse cursor. Fantastic. So I can quit the game, or retry. And retry should bring us back. It does. Great. Okay, so we're in good form. This seems to be working. Now let's move on to the next step. All right, so now we're going to move on to the next step of our game development. And what we're going to do is we're going to add some details to our level blueprint. So as you know, each object in Unreal has its own blueprint system, and so does the level. So the level we're going to open our level blueprint, which is here, and we have these two familiar nodes, the begin play, event tick, as usual. And so what I want to set up is I just basically want to prime this level so that we have the ability to kind of connect to our character at all times through the events that happen in the level. So in order to do that, what I'm going to do is say at begin play, I'm going to go cast to, and then I will say BP, third person character. That's what we're working on here. And I'm going to drag out of here, and I'm just going to say get player character. There we go. And I'm going to also set this up as a variable. So as third person character, I'm going to just drag that out and go promote to variable. Great. So you can see that that's actually, whoops, this one is one I made earlier. I'll delete that. You can see that BP third person character has populated on the left hand side. So that's great. We're just going to leave that there. I'm going to compile it and save it. And then over in level 1, I'm actually going to create a new object. And so this is going to be our special token object. So I'm going to right click in here, create a new blueprint class. I'm going to just say actor. Or do we want pawn? No, we want actor. And I'm going to call it token, BP token. And I'll open it up, and we just have this kind of empty space right now. So I'm going to add a cube, basic shapes cube, and I'll scale this down and kind of just scale it down on the Z, and I'll scale it in on the Y, so it's just this kind of nice floating cube here. Okay, so let's give it a material. So I'm going to go down and just see what is in our basic setup folder. What is this? Explosion material. What about that? Let's see. Some of these are kind of cool. Lamp. Whoa. Yeah, so these are for particular objects, but I just want something kind of shiny. So let's just do that. What is that? Kind of brushed metal vibe. You can just choose whatever you like. Unreal has some fun, this one is kind of fun. So I'm going to leave that there, and I'm going to compile and save. And so this is going to be the token that we have appear. I'm going to add a little bit of finesse on here. So let's put a light. Let's do a point light. Ooh. It's quite large. Where's it gone? Gonna move it maybe down below, and we can play with it later, but I'll just leave it there for now. Okay, so now you have your object made. We want to give it the properties of like a magic token. So we have our whole blueprint here, but if we go down and just select the cube itself, so this object, and then look in your details pane, scroll down to the bottom, and you can find all of these essentially triggers for things that can happen when things happen to the cube. So if we say the first one is on component hit, this means when something hits it. And what will be hitting it will be us. So I'm going to hit the plus, and we're popped over to the event graph, and we have automatically this node that says on component hit cube. So the first thing I'm going to set up here is we want to essentially have the action of hitting that cube, engaging with that cube, shoot something over to the health number in our personal, like in our character's blueprint. So I'm going to cast this over, say cast to, and then it's BP underscore third person character. So we have it there. And then the other actor that's being referenced here is us. So other actor, go to object, connect that up. And then we want to take from this blueprint, we want to take the health element. So we're going to say get health. And then from there, we want to add a bit of health. So we're going to take that node, and we're just going to just put in the plus key or add. And then we have this operation, which is adding something. And we could put in a number here, like every time you get a cube, you get like 5 extra health points. But let's just mix it up a bit and add something that's kind of random. So I'm going to go random float in range. So this means that every time we hit a cube, it'll give us between 5 and 10 more health. And we may need to adjust this later, but for the time being, we're going to just assume that that's enough. And then we're going to essentially have that. We need to set the health. No, we need to put it, let's pull out of here our health again. So set health. And we want to drag this. Yeah, so we want to drag this over to here. So the health gets set by this new number. And then we want to make sure that the whole chain of command is running. So this whole thing runs along these white cables. And then finally, we want to make sure that our cube disappears. So we want to say destroy actor. And so now the cube is going to just disappear, hopefully, if everything works. So let's just compile this, save it, go over to our level, and press play. And now, obviously, nothing's happening because we don't have any cubes in there. Let's just drop some cubes in. So let's take our cube. I'm going to drag it up. It's got that nice light on the bottom, like some kind of beacon. And I'm going to just place some around the place, as they say. All right, so when I hit play, let's see. Oh, and it's gone. I thought my computer was going to crash there for a second. Save. Go over and let's try it again. And it's gone. And it's gone. And you can see the health bar pops up. And eventually, no matter what I do, there's nothing else to eat. And I die. Okay, cool. So, just a note that off screen, I changed the number of my health depreciation down to 10. It was at 25 because we were kind of like speed running the game, but 10 is what we want right there. Okay, so now we want to essentially figure out a way that we can win this game. And the way we're going to win it is by collecting all of our tokens. So if I go here in my third person character blueprint, I'm going to just create a new variable. And I'm going to call it tokens collected. And I'm going to make it I think I want it as an integer. So I want it just like a number that can go up and down, I think. Yeah. Yeah, we might need to change that in a second, but I think that's fine. And then what I want to do is go back over here, and essentially I want to create a system that counts the numbers that have been selected. So let's go to third person character, and I'm going to drag third person character. I'm going to take a new thing. I'm going to get and what did we call it? Tokens collected. There it is, get tokens collected. And I'm going to add a number. So I'm going to just put plus, and we're going to add 1 because we collected maybe 1 battery. And then we're going to have a set. We're going to create another. We're going to drag this over here. We're pulling lots of things out of our character. We're going to set tokens collected, and we're going to rehook this up so it goes through here and through here, and then we're going to give a little plus there, and that means every time we bump into a token, we are adding 1 token to our token collected integer, which if we check over here, tokens collected integer, we have to compile this blueprint, and then the default value is 0. So we start with 0, and then we build up to a number of our determination. All right, so where are we? Let's go to... The next thing we want to do is we want to... essentially, we want to create a condition by which if we have gathered the right number of tokens, then we win the game, right? So we go over to our level 1 blueprint, and we can drag in our third person character, and we'll get the info. And then from here, we want to grab our tokens collected variable. So I'm going to drag this out and say tokens, get tokens collected. And we want to basically make it so that we can set a number. So let's just put equals. And if this equals a certain number, then something happens, right? So what we can do from here is just like set a really basic... So what we'll do actually is we'll just create a new variable, and then we'll just call it, max tokens, and then L1 because we're in level 1. I mean, it's a given, but you know, might get confusing later. So we'll just make that an integer so that we have a number, compile. Then we can set the number here. So let's give it a 6. And then we drag this in here. We'll get max tokens. And so that's our number 6. And so essentially if this equals 6, then what are we going to do? So we're going to create a branch. And if the condition is right, if it's true, then essentially we want to trigger a new screen, which will be our like U1 screen. So let's go back over to our level. Let's go over to our UI, and we have this beautiful you lose screen. So let's just duplicate it and call it you win. And then when I double click on there, I'm going to make this all a lot more positive. So I'm going to change obviously the title to You Win. And then I'm going to change the background. Maybe we'll make that something nice. So I can either click in here and set it, hopefully. Sometimes it doesn't set, and I don't know why. I think it's a bug. Let's go to 0. Let's try it that way. Oh yeah, cool. So you see these little arrows? These little arrows kind of reset the subject. So I'll just reset it, and that's its default, which is white. And then this like beautiful kind of happy orange color. And say okay, set it as that, and then these can stay, or we can change them if you want to change them to like green or something, but I'm going to leave that at orange. I'm going to say compile, save, and then I'll go back to my level, and then we essentially want to just copy and paste these elements over from the previous one, and then just change it. So we have, this is, if you remember, our this is our like you lose screen. So I'll go to level 1, and I'll just drop this over here and move it over a little. And so now if this equals this and that's true, it's going to detach from controller pending destroy. Now, a thing to note is that this level is not a character, is not a player like this one is. So we need to just like make sure that we refer to this and explain who it is. So we can do that by just going and we just go get player character, and we can plug it into that, and we can also plug it into, do we need to plug it anywhere else? Let's see, I think that's fine, but let's see what happens. So I'm going to save it, compile, let's go over to play the game, press play, and then let's see what happens. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and nothing is happening. Okay, so that's not what we want. We want things to happen. So let's have a look again at our level. What is the issue here? We have our max tokens, that's set to 6. If that equals that and it's true, then we should die. And so why are we not dying? Oh, well, first of all, we want to change this to you win, but I don't think that's the issue. Let's compile it again. Let's try this again. No. Oh, I don't think this is being watched. Right, because we don't have a layer tick in here. Okay, so that's it. I think I might have been actually just like, I might have made a mistake and deleted some stuff. You should have a event tick in here. So let's just, I'm just going to call one in. And then I just patch this into this. And now, let's see, compile, save, play, play. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and I won! Yay! Okay, so there we go. Oh, and we've got a lot of issues. Let's see. Let's navigate over to them and see what's up. So, compile persistence successful, Let's compile it. Let's play it again, see what that error is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Wait. Access none trying to read cal function player character return value node detach from controller pending destroy. Okay, cool. So detach from controller pending destroy. Well, let's see. Maybe we don't need that one at all. Let's just delete that, and just go there. One, two, three, 4, 5, 6. All right. And that worked fine. Okay, cool. So basically, this was causing some kind of issue, the pending destroy, and that's probably because it didn't relate to the character in the same way as this would, because it's inside the blueprint of the character. But that was an easy fix, and there you go. You have a game, and now the rest of the styling is up to you. We'll continue developing this later, but I want to see how you get on with this now.